Lytudiep. Hello dear friends. The love triangle between lytudiep and best friend Tung. How did it help John when the truth was not revealed? It was a dark, stormy night. The rain poured down as if the heavens themselves wept over the betrayal that had just been uncovered. James stood silently outside the police station, his hands clenched tight, his heart heavy, not just because the truth was painful, but because it came from someone he once called a brother, Tung. Tung had been by his side through life's fiercest storms, a trusted friend and ally, only to be revealed as nothing more than a pawn in John's cruel game. For weeks, James had fought against unseen enemies, unaware that Tung was leaking every report, every failed deal, every strategic move James made directly into John's hands. The police investigations uncovered it all. Tung had been working with John from the very beginning, feeding him inside information that weakened James's position and led to chaos. The final, cruel twist was John's plan to kidnap Lytudiep and use her as leverage to force James into signing over his company. Tung played a key role in setting that plan in motion. James remembered the moment he saw Tung at Lytudiep's house, helping to tend to her wounds. He had mistaken the scene as a sign of selfless protection. But now the truth cut deeper. Tung's kindness was a mask, a carefully crafted lie to hide his true loyalty. The pain of betrayal stung James like a physical blow, not only because of the danger Tung had placed Lytudiep in, but also because of the profound loss of trust. When the police finally arrested Tung, he confessed everything. He revealed how John had blackmailed and threatened him, how fear and weakness had led him down the wrong path, and how deeply he regretted his choices. The silence between James and Lytudiep was heavy and complicated, not quite forgiveness, but something more nuanced. James, a man who had always believed in justice, now wrestled with a tougher question: could justice coexist with mercy? Lytudiep squeezed James's hand tightly, her voice calm despite her red eyes. He made mistakes, but he's not evil. He was scared and vulnerable, maybe not lost forever. Despite the agony of shattered trust, James and Lytudiep's love endured, tested by fire but unbroken. Forgiveness was far from immediate, but their bond gave them strength. Tung remained in custody, while the police gathered final evidence against John's network. Every encounter in the police station's corridors was loaded with unspoken pain. Tung could barely meet their eyes, weighed down by shame and despair. James confronted him quietly, asking if Tung had ever cared. Tung's trembling voice admitted that he had, and that made everything worse. Searching the endless blue sky for peace, James whispered, "If John had succeeded, I would have lost everything: my dream, my father's legacy." Lytudiep reached out gently, reminding him, "But you didn't. We're still here, together." Those words were a fragile thread of light amidst the storm in James's heart. But forgiveness still seemed distant. Days passed with Tung detained and James and Lytudiep summoned repeatedly to give statements. Tung sat across from them in a small interview room, hands shaking, eyes locking with James's before lowering his voice. "I don't expect your forgiveness. John used me, but I let him. I was angry, jealous. Even you, James, had everything: success, love, purpose. I was foolish to take the power he offered." James's voice was steady. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed yourself. If I could, I'd want you to forgive yourself someday." There was a long pause before James stood, nodding once as if saying goodbye to an old friend who had become a stranger. Lytudiep's parting words to Tung were gentle but firm: "The only way to make things right is to face the pain you caused." Tung nodded, tears streaming down his face, and the door closed behind them, not just a room, but a chapter of betrayal and long-hidden truths. Meanwhile, the police's relentless efforts began to unravel John's criminal empire. Thanks to Tung's confession and secret evidence James had collected during a hospital visit, John's influence weakened. But John was not a man to go down without a fight. One rainy evening, James stood by his office window as Too Deep wrapped her arms around him. "They'll come for you," he whispered, jaw clenched with determination. The stakes were higher than ever. The final confrontation happened in an abandoned warehouse on the city's edge. John's cold, wild eyes gleamed with cruelty as James stepped forward, his voice icy. "Let her go," John sneered. "She'll go when I get what I want." Suddenly, sirens blared. Police flooded the scene, surrounding John and his men. The briefcase James carried exploded with red dye, marking John's defeat. Furious and helpless, John shouted, "This isn't over. Your family stole everything from mine. You'll all pay." But James stepped closer, unwavering. "It ends here." With John taken away in handcuffs, peace slowly returned. James and Too Deep sat together on their porch, sipping tea. James pressed a soft kiss to Too Deep's forehead. "You were so brave," he murmured. She smiled. The weight of the past week ceasing, news of their full cooperation with the authorities spread, leading to John's sentence being mitigated, but also giving him a chance to face his past. Sunlight spilled over the countryside where James and Too Deep grew up. James took her hand in his. "This time, we rebuild, for real." Too Deep's eyes shone bright with hope. From betrayal, fear, and heartbreak emerged lessons about loyalty, truth, and forgiveness. Betrayal often comes not from strangers but from those we once called friends. Even in the darkest moments, truth has the power to heal. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's choosing peace over hatred. Justice may be slow, but it always comes. Strong hearts never break. Life will always test us, to seek revenge or mercy, to give up or stand tall. James, Too Deep, and Tongue faced these choices head-on. They learned to take responsibility, seek redemption, and find salvation within themselves. Forgiveness does not erase pain, it transforms it into strength. And when love is tested by fire, it becomes unbreakable. How do you feel about this story? After all the secrets about John were exposed and he was arrested, it seemed that peace would finally return to James, Tongue, and Too Deep. But unexpectedly, another shadow crept into their lives. One stormy night, while James was organizing work files in his office, his phone buzzed with a cryptic message from an unknown number. The message warned of a secret even darker and more dangerous than anything they had uncovered about Tongue's past, a secret that could shatter all the trust and love between them. James began to doubt, was Tongue truly just a victim in John's cruel power play? Or was he hiding a deeper, darker truth? Meanwhile, Too Deep, who had already suffered so much from Tongue's betrayal, struggled with whether she could continue to trust him or if protecting herself meant letting go of the past. These questions weighed heavily on their hearts, creating a tension that no legal battle or investigation could ease. Their fight was no longer just about justice or unraveling schemes, it became an internal struggle between forgiveness and suspicion, love and betrayal. Every decision they made would not only shape their own futures but could either mend or irreparably break the bond between them. Could James find it in himself to accept the unknown and hold on to his faith in Tongue? Would Tongue have the courage to confront his past, reveal the truth, and regain the trust of his closest friends? And Too Deep, with her heart always leaning toward love, could she overcome the pain and find peace beside James? Or would doubt consume her? This story is more than just about three people tested by betrayal, it is a lesson in perseverance, courage, and the power of true love. The days ahead promise to be their greatest challenge, as they must step through the shadows of the past to reach the light of the future. What will happen when the full truth is finally revealed? Will their wounds heal? Or will deeper cracks form in their hearts? The answers lie ahead, waiting in the next steps of this turbulent journey.